Welcome to a new episode of Cheaters Always Cheat. Like, subscribe, and share to stay connected.
My wife Anna, who is 35, and I, also 35, have been married for the past 5 years. Before we got married, we dated for 2 years, and everything was pretty normal between us. However, about a year ago, my wife suddenly developed a taste for expensive things. To give you some background, I work as a sales manager, and my wife has a job in finance. Together, we earned enough to live a comfortable life, and we were quite happy with our lifestyle. But over the last year, my wife's preferences shifted from being content with decent items to wanting extravagant ones. For example, if she wanted a handbag, it had to be from a high-end, famous brand with a prominently displayed logo, rather than a bag that offered good value for its price. I'm not stingy with money, but spending $300 on a handbag when you could get a good one for $100 seemed excessive. My wife's change in behavior was influenced by one of her close friends who married a wealthy businessman. This friend constantly flaunted her new luxurious possessions, and it seemed like my wife wanted to develop a similar taste. She started comparing everything we had to what her friend had, our house, our car, and even our vacation destinations. I tried to talk to her about it, but she acted like a spoiled child who wants everything just like her rich friend. I thought it might be a passing phase and that she'd eventually grow out of it. But I might have been wrong. In the last 5 or 6 months, I've noticed a significant upgrade in my wife's wardrobe. Before that, it was just a few clothes, bags, and perfume bottles, which made sense. It's easy to save up for a few expensive items. However, in the last 5 or 6 months, she completely revamped her wardrobe. Everything from her clothing to her shoes now bore the name of a famous brand. I got curious and asked if she had gotten a promotion, and she confirmed that she had. When I inquired about the raise, she shrugged it off, mentioning good incentives but no change in her base salary. I couldn't help but wonder if those incentives could cover all these expenses. I didn't dig deeper into it because she would make me feel guilty, suggesting that I couldn't provide a luxurious lifestyle for her and yet was questioning her choices when she was handling it on her own. She had pulled this move before, so I refrained from prying. I stayed curious but kept my thoughts to myself. However, secrets have a way of coming to light. About a month ago, I was searching for some documents in my closet. Despite hours of searching, I couldn't locate them, so I started rummaging through my wife's section. Although I didn't find the document I was looking for, I stumbled upon my wife's bank statement. I just casually took a look at it. After her last promotion, which happened about a year ago, she informed me that her monthly salary after taxes was roughly $6,500. However, when I examined the bank statement, it painted a very different picture. There were several credits in her bank statement under her company's name each month, but none came close to even $6,000. They varied between $1,000 and $4,000, but none were whole numbers. I tallied them up for a month, hoping they'd add up to $6,000, but they didn't. I also considered whether she might be receiving weekly or bi-weekly payments, but the numbers still didn't match. The total amount credited in a month added up to around $10,000. My curiosity got the best of me, and I decided to investigate further by searching through her wardrobe. However, I didn't find anything else suspicious. She wasn't at home at the time, so I sat there staring at the bank statement. It suddenly struck me that the statement was from Bank X. To the best of my knowledge, she had an account with Bank Y. A hunch told me that Bank X wasn't her salary account. That evening during dinner, I casually asked her, "Hey, did you switch your salary account from Bank Y to a different one?" She replied, "No." I followed up with, "Do you have an account with Bank X?" Her immediate reaction was noticeable. She turned pale and stammered, no, I don't have an account with Bank X." "Why are you asking this?" I told her that Bank X had some great offers for their female customers on Women's Day. I kept looking at her, and she started feeling uneasy. I waited for her to say something, but she remained silent. She finished her dinner and went to bed. Part of me wanted to confront her right then, but I held back, giving her time to think. I waited for a week. At first, she seemed tense and alert for a couple of days, but as the week went on, she went back to her usual self, which frustrated me. It seemed like she was fine with keeping me in the dark. For whatever reason, I couldn't hold back any longer. So, the following weekend, I handed her the bank statement and demanded an explanation. She panicked and asked how I had found it. I told her the truth. She quickly tried to change the subject by accusing me of invading her privacy. I made it clear that I wouldn't be distracted by her attempts to shift the blame and insisted she explain. She refused to answer, and we ended up arguing all day Saturday. As evening approached, I threatened to reveal the hidden bank account and mysterious credits to her company if she didn't come clean. It was a gamble, but it worked. She agreed to confess but made me promise not to involve her company. I agreed. She revealed that she had found a loophole in her company's financial processes that allowed employees to embezzle money if they were clever. At first, she hesitated to exploit it, but her desire for expensive things pushed her to go ahead. I was shocked. I never imagined my wife could be involved in fraud. I asked how she managed to gather the courage to carry out such deceit. She explained that she tested it once with a small amount, planning to cry and claim it was a mistake if she got caught. Typically, companies won't pursue fraud charges if the amount is small, they might simply fire the employee. So, she took the risk. As the amount she embezzled grew into the thousands, she decided to be cautious and switched her bank account as a precaution. I couldn't quite grasp this revelation. I didn't raise my voice, I simply stared at her in disbelief. I'm not a saint, but this felt deeply wrong. Perhaps because she had kept me in the dark, in a way, she had deceived me too. I asked why she had kept all of this from me. She said she thought I wouldn't approve. I didn't respond. I wasn't angry either. To be honest, I didn't know how to react at that moment. I advised her to stop this scheme and leave the company before she got caught and ruined her career. She nodded. We both felt uneasy for the next few days but didn't talk much. About a week later, I asked if she had thought about leaving the company. She replied that she was well established there and had no intention of leaving. She was confident she wouldn't get caught. With a stern expression, I warned her not to repeat the fraud. It's been 2 weeks since that incident, and I'm still feeling uneasy. I believe I could move past it if Anna quit her job. It would give me peace of mind that she was no longer involved in this mess. But I can't understand why she's so insistent on staying. Do you all think she might still be stealing money without my knowledge? Please offer some advice on how to handle this situation in a balanced way. Update. Hey everyone, thanks for all the advice. After talking with some of you, I considered sending an anonymous email but decided against it. I didn't want to risk my marriage over this. I chose my married life over my principles. Please don't be upset with me because a lot has happened since then. If I had sent those emails, I might never have discovered the darker side of the situation. Fast forward 2 months after our confrontation, and she's still working at the same company. However, I haven't seen any new expensive items in her wardrobe. That gave me some relief, thinking she had stopped her fraudulent activities. But the whole incident kept me unsettled. About a month ago, while scrolling through social media, a thought crossed my mind. I started searching for her coworkers on social media. Since Anna and I were connected on my account and her colleagues were connected on hers, it was easy for me to find them. After checking out some of her colleagues whom I had met at a few social gatherings, I came across her boss's profile. His profile picture, taken in a stunning beach villa, caught my eye, so I kept digging. As I went through his page, I saw him living a lavish lifestyle. His timeline was full of pictures of him partying at fancy hotel lounges and vacationing in some of the country's most luxurious places. We all know you can't afford such a lifestyle on a monthly salary of around $7,000, especially with a kid. I scrolled further back and saw that his lifestyle had only upgraded about a year ago. Before that, his pictures were from more ordinary places. That seemed pretty suspicious. I didn't hesitate and directly asked my wife, "Did your boss also participate in the fraud?" She was caught off guard and responded, yeah, sort of." I was taken aback. How could that be an answer? I asked her to clarify. She explained that her boss found out about it but allowed her to siphon the money. I didn't believe her. I pointed out that, based on what I saw on her boss's profile, his involvement in the fraud seemed clear because an average finance manager couldn't afford such a lifestyle. She brushed it off, claiming he came from a wealthy family. I gave her a final warning, telling her to stop making excuses. I had done my research and informed her that I had looked through his entire profile. It was clear that he had significantly upgraded his lifestyle within a year. She tried to explain it away by suggesting he might have received some inheritance money. I couldn't tolerate such a weak excuse because anyone with common sense could see that she was making it up. I firmly demanded that she tell the truth. This led to hours of arguing and her blaming me for investigating her colleagues. Finally, she admitted that her boss was also involved and they had shared the money. I asked her why she hadn't revealed this during our initial confrontation. She said it was irrelevant. I felt like banging my head against a wall, or maybe even hers. I told her she needed to leave that company as soon as possible. I questioned her if there was anything else she was keeping from me, and she adamantly said no. But I wasn't convinced that this was the end of it. I had a strong feeling that there was more to uncover. As you can probably guess, I started suspecting an affair. It's the most obvious thing in a situation like this, right? After a few restless hours, I couldn't take it anymore. I went straight to her and asked, "Are you having an affair with your boss?" She was caught off guard, and though she tried to say something, I cut her off with a determined look and said, "Don't even think about lying. I have all the evidence." I have no idea where I found the confidence to confront her like that. It wasn't an act, I was reacting on autopilot, going with my gut. She gave up and started crying. My heart sank as tears streamed down her cheeks. I urged her to spill every single detail. Eventually, she did, and it shook me to my core. After her initial attempt at embezzling money, Anna thought she was clever and could continue the fraud without getting caught. Little did she know, her manager had caught on to her scheme from the very beginning but chose not to confront her. In fact, he was the one who approved her audits, which ultimately enabled her to embezzle even more money. Once the amount involved grew significantly, her boss confronted her. He praised her cleverness in exploiting the loophole and admired her audacity in making money from it. He even proposed a partnership to keep her safe. He mentioned waiting for a month before jumping on board to see if anyone else would catch her, but no one did. Perhaps nobody had any involvement in her audit work except her manager, making it an easy escape for the two of them. Her manager requested that she sleep with him once as part of the partnership agreement. She initially refused, but he threatened to expose her. She claimed he had manipulated her into having sex with him. I asked her why she hadn't told me about this sooner. She explained that it was too late for her to seek my help, and she felt compelled to comply with her boss, fearing exposure. I inquired if it was a one-time occurrence, but she remained silent. I encouraged her to speak up, and she finally admitted that her boss became attracted to her after their first encounter and insisted they continue. She also confessed that she had started enjoying it. I was completely shocked, yet I had a nagging suspicion that this moment of truth was on its way. I questioned her once more, inquiring if she was concealing anything else. She assertively denied any further secrets. Overwhelmed, I hurried to my room, securely locking the door behind me. Unsure of how to proceed, I scoured countless posts on various relationship advice websites, but none provided a definite answer to my dilemma. It was a Sunday, and I chose to isolate myself for the remainder of the day. She sent me messages, begging for forgiveness and vowing to make amends in our relationship. She even suggested resigning from her job. However, I felt emotionally detached, wondering why she would consider quitting only after causing so much harm. It became clear to me that I no longer viewed her as I once had. My feelings for her had altered significantly, and most crucially, I knew I could never trust her again. The next day at work, I found it nearly impossible to focus. My thoughts were plagued by ideas of retaliation. When I got home, she was already there, which was strange because she typically got home about an hour after me. She approached me, took my hand as I walked in, and offered to do whatever it took to repair our relationship. I demanded she confess her misdeeds and expose her boss to their company's management. She hesitated, unable to fulfill my request. She explained that she did not want to endanger her boss's livelihood, noting he was the primary breadwinner for his family and had recently become a father. I couldn't hold back my frustration, confronting her about her affair with him, especially under these circumstances. I insisted she admit her actions to her management, but she refused. Following an intense argument, she eventually revealed that her boss had recorded their first intimate moment together and had used it to ensure her compliance. In that moment, if I had been holding a knife, I might have felt tempted to use it against her. Despite my insistence on complete transparency, she still held back information. I demanded that she log into her laptop and show all the evidence. As she hesitated, questioning my motives, my frustration reached a breaking point, compelling her to obey. For the first time in our 7-year relationship, she saw a side of me she had never encountered before. And for the first time in my 35 years, I saw myself acting in a way that was uncharacteristically aggressive, similar to a gangster intimidating a hostage. She accessed her laptop and revealed the evidence, including a folder with records of all transactions made to both her and her boss's accounts, as well as the video of their initial encounter, which seemed to be part of their illicit agreement. I quickly grabbed the laptop from her, transferred all the data to my USB drive, and held on to it tightly, warning her that if she did not cooperate, our marriage would be over that very day. She eventually relented, spending the evening in tears while I consumed a bottle of rum and several cans of beer, ending up feeling ill and disgusted. The next day at work felt like any other Monday, filled with contemplation about my next steps. Firmly resolved to pursue revenge, I visited her company's website and collected email addresses of key contacts, including those in the HR department and the director. I spent the next couple of hours drafting an email, attaching all the evidence I had collected the day before. I informed them about the affair but chose to exclude the video. After carefully composing the email, I stared at the send button for hours, finally closing my eyes and pressing it. I had previously added her boss's wife on social media, the day I investigated the manager. I sent her snippets of the video along with information about my identity and what I had discovered. She read all the messages and attempted to contact me, but I was at the office and did not respond. She earnestly begged me not to disclose her husband's misconduct to the company's management, arguing that such an action would endanger his job. He was the main financial support for their household, which included a newborn, and she feared that exposing him could destroy his professional life irreparably. Despite her pleas, I had already sent the revealing email and decided to disengage from the conversation to avoid being swayed by guilt. Upon my return home, Anna presented me with a signed copy of her resignation letter. It declared that she had decided to resign from her position voluntarily. She further explained that she had completely severed ties with her colleagues and had implemented a total communication block with her boss across all platforms. Additionally, she had negotiated with the Human Resources Department to receive compensation for her notice period, opting not to work through it. I responded to her revelations with a dismissive sneer, choosing not to divulge any information about the actions I had taken. Today is Friday, and I have received correspondence from the Human Resources Department at my wife's company. They expressed their gratitude for the evidence I provided and assured me that they would conduct a comprehensive investigation into the matter. I am left feeling uncertain whether to be satisfied with the revenge I executed, as I am haunted by the potential severe repercussions it could have on my wife and the undeniable destructive impact on the manager's family. Since that confrontation, I have not spoken to her, leaving me unsure about our future. I am increasingly uncomfortable around Anna, making it impossible for me to continue our relationship as it once was. I am now considering seeking professional therapy to help clear my mind and process the events that have unfolded. Despite having exacted my revenge, I remain deeply distressed and unsettled by the whole situation. Update 2. Hello to everyone who has shown support. I hadn't planned on providing another update, but since many of you expressed interest, here is what has transpired since. A week after receiving the response from HR, my wife was contacted by her company to appear for an audit inquiry. Initially, she refused to comply, but they threatened her with a legal summons if she did not attend. The manager involved in the incident has been suspended pending the outcome of the investigation. Interestingly, the timing of my wife's resignation and the submission of my email led the company to suspect that she might have anonymously sent them the evidence just before resigning. Her abrupt decision to leave without serving her notice period raised eyebrows. Under questioning, she eventually confessed to everything, although she portrayed her actions as being driven by a moral obligation to report the wrongdoing. Unfortunately, the company did not see her actions in a positive light. Instead, they blacklisted her, effectively casting a long shadow over her future career prospects. The manager was found guilty of engaging in unethical behavior with her right from the start, which is a clear violation of the strict HR policies that companies enforce. During this turbulent period, I received a message from the manager's wife who directly blamed Anna and me for the upheaval in her family. Overwhelmed by the continuous drama, I sighed deeply and blocked her number, wanting to distance myself from any further conflict. Anna has made several attempts to mend our broken marriage, but I find myself unable to move past her betrayals. Her presence has become intolerable, her voice grates on my nerves, and I find myself longing for freedom from our relationship. It wasn't just a single affair. Anna had engaged in multiple deceptions, and there were numerous occasions where she could have been truthful and transparent. Yet, she chose to continue her dishonesty, even throughout our confrontations. It took several sessions of therapy for me to grasp the full extent of her duplicity. A month ago, I communicated my decision to pursue a divorce. She desperately asked for another chance, but I decisively declined. She voiced concerns that the blacklist from her former company would devastate her career, as it would be disclosed in future background checks, complicating her ability to secure a respectable job elsewhere. I didn't pay much attention to her accusations. My main concern right now is focusing on myself and finding a way to move forward. It became clear to me that ending the marriage was the only viable option. The reality of the situation hit her hard when she received the divorce papers. I proposed that we go through an uncontested divorce to keep things simple, but I also warned her that if she refused, I would use all the evidence I had gathered in court to support my case. Faced with this ultimatum, she agreed and moved out of the house. Even though I felt an overwhelming sense of emptiness, I knew deep down that this was a necessary step for my own healing process. I cannot allow myself to be trapped in this painful situation for the rest of my life. I am committed to continuing my therapy sessions to help me work through my feelings and rebuild my sense of self. If anyone has any advice on how to best navigate the healing process after such a traumatic experience, I would be very grateful to hear it. Your support means a lot to me during this difficult time. Thank you so much for understanding and for any guidance you can offer. Story 2. This is a story I never thought I would tell. My wife, Lisa, and I were what many would describe as the perfect couple. After 7 years of marriage, our lives were filled with love, laughter, and exciting plans. We lived in a charming suburban home, and everything seemed to be going well. Things began to change when Lisa decided to join a local gym to pursue a healthier, more active lifestyle. I wholeheartedly supported her decision, hoping it would bring positive changes to our lives. For the first few months, everything seemed wonderful. Lisa was happier and more energetic, and I felt proud of her accomplishments at the gym. Our evenings were filled with conversations about her new friends and what she was learning in her fitness classes. However, as time went on, I began to notice subtle changes that I couldn't quite put my finger on. Lisa started spending more time at the gym, often mentioning extra classes or special training sessions. Her workout clothes became more fashionable, and she started paying more attention to her appearance before leaving the house. Occasionally, she mentioned having dinners with her gym friends after workouts. Even though I trusted her, I couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that was growing inside me. I tried to convince myself that my feelings were just jealousy or insecurity. Lisa had never given me any reason to doubt her. But as time passed, I could no longer ignore the warning signs. She would spend long periods on the phone, sometimes laughing at texts she didn't share with me. When I asked about her day, she would dodge the questions and give vague answers. Our closeness began to fade, and I started feeling like a stranger in my own home. The way she looked at me, her changing routines, and the long phone conversations with people I had never met started to weigh on me. My trust in Lisa began to waver, and I couldn't ignore the nagging feeling that something was off. Despite trusting her, something deep inside told me I needed to take action. Doubt creeping in, I began to notice details that I hadn't before: a different perfume on her neck, a new sparkle in her eyes, and a smile that seemed to hide a secret. I analyzed every little thing about her. I decided I needed to learn more about her gym friends. Trying to stay calm, I asked questions, but Lisa was evasive. One name kept coming up: Tom. She claimed he was just a friend, but her face lit up like a Christmas tree whenever she talked about him. My suspicions turned into an obsession. I spent countless nights tossing and turning, replaying every conversation and glance they shared in my mind. The puzzle pieces began to fit together, but the picture they formed was unbelievable. Unable to resist, I snooped through her phone when she wasn't looking, hoping to find some answers. Every harmless message I read brought temporary relief, but the unease never left me. My actions made me feel like a nosy intruder, but I couldn't help myself. The need for the truth burned inside me like a fire. One evening, when Lisa had dinner plans with her gym friends, I decided to follow her. I parked at a safe distance and watched her walk into a restaurant. She looked stunning, dressed in a way she hadn't been in months with me. Tom was there, all smiles as he greeted her. I watched them for hours, observing their laughter, gentle touches, and meaningful looks that spoke of more than just friendship. It felt like the ground was crumbling beneath me. My suspicions had turned into reality, but it still wasn't enough. The pain was overwhelming, but my determination to uncover the whole truth was unshakable. The investigation was just beginning, and what I was about to uncover would be a roller coaster of pain and surprises. The breakthrough didn't happen all at once. It unfolded gradually, like a slow, agonizing symphony that grew louder with each passing note. My determination to uncover the truth led me down a path of increasing agony. To start, I hired a private investigator, explaining my situation and suspicions. He gave me a knowing look, familiar with cases like mine, and promised discretion and professionalism. The following weeks were pure torment. Every update from the detective drove a dagger deeper into my heart. Photos of Lisa and Tom appeared in various places, secrets shared, and messages filled with words that went beyond mere friendship. I found myself lost between reality and imagination, replaying in my mind the moments they had shared. The pain was nearly physical, like a blade slicing through me, and my love for Lisa was overshadowed by betrayal. Then, the detective obtained an audio recording of a conversation between them, where they openly discussed their relationship and professed their love for each other. Hearing her sweet and familiar voice utter those words to another man was the final blow. I was crushed, but I still had to face the worst part, the confrontation. How could I possibly bring up everything I had uncovered with her without falling apart completely? The shock of Lisa's betrayal left me feeling utterly shattered. I was caught in a maelstrom of rage and sorrow, with my heart aching deeply. As the days passed, however, another emotion began to surface, a cold, calculated desire for justice and revenge. Determined to uncover the truth, I delved deeper into Tom's background. To my astonishment, I discovered that he was a married man. His wife, Sarah, seemed like a loving and devoted spouse, completely unaware of her husband's deceit. I felt a pang of sympathy for her, imagining the heartache she would soon face. Fueled by a newfound determination, I decided to reach out to Sarah. Though finding the right words was challenging, I knew I had to reveal the truth to her. We arranged to meet at a quiet cafe, far from prying eyes, where I could present the evidence. When I revealed everything to Sarah, her face displayed a mix of disbelief and profound sadness. She stared at the photos and messages, each one cutting into her like a knife. "How could he do this?" she murmured, tears streaming down her face. "I trusted him. I loved him." "Sarah, I understand your pain," I said, my voice filled with empathy. "But we need to take action. We need to teach them a lesson." A spark of anger ignited in her eyes. She wiped away her tears and looked at me with unwavering resolve. "You're absolutely right, Oliver. They must pay for what they've done." Thus, our plan for revenge began to take shape. Sarah and I, an unlikely pair united by a shared sense of betrayal, joined forces. We met regularly, exchanging information and crafting a detailed plan. We decided that our revenge needed to be a public spectacle, something that would humiliate Tom and Lisa and expose their true colors to the world. The perfect setting for our showdown was the gym where it all began, a place bustling with witnesses, including students, teachers, and staff. Armed with our evidence, photos and text messages, Sarah and I headed to the gym during a busy time, determined to unveil the betrayal. Our veins pulsed with adrenaline, and our hearts raced with a mix of anger and nerves. As we walked into the gym, I spotted Tom and Lisa laughing and chatting as if nothing had happened. My anger boiled over, and I approached them with Sarah by my side. "Tom, Lisa," I shouted, grabbing everyone's attention. "I've got something to show everyone here." Their expressions quickly shifted from surprise to horror as they realized what was happening. Tom tried to speak, but I silenced him by revealing the pictures and reading snippets from the text messages. "This is the real Tom and Lisa," I declared. "A shameless and disgraceful betrayal." The entire gym fell silent, eyes wide with shock. Tom moved toward me, anger blazing in his eyes. "You had no right to do this here," he bellowed, shoving me. I pushed him away, and the situation quickly descended into chaos. Students and instructors yelled, trying to break us apart. Sarah was in tears, while Lisa pleaded with everyone to stop. Academy security stepped in, pulling us apart, and the manager demanded an explanation. Amid sobs, Sarah spilled the beans about the betrayal, presenting the evidence for all to see. Tom turned pale as his reputation and image were tarnished before everyone's eyes. Lisa was humiliated, her pleas for forgiveness falling on deaf ears. "It's done, Tom," Sarah screamed, her pain evident in her tearful eyes. "I'm getting a lawyer. Our marriage is finished." Tom and Lisa were expelled from the academy, their names tainted, their lives shattered. Sarah and I left the place feeling a mix of relief and sadness. The next day, as I packed my bags, I heard Lisa's cries and pleas. She was begging for a chance to explain, hoping for an opportunity to fix what was broken. "Oliver, please hear me out," Lisa sobbed, kneeling before me, her eyes swollen and red. "I never meant to hurt you. I was confused, lost. I need you." Her words hung in the air, but my heart was too wounded to respond. The betrayal had cut too deep, and there was no going back. I paused, staring at the woman I once believed I loved with every fiber of my being. The pain in her eyes was genuine, but the betrayal had left a wound so deep that I wasn't sure it could ever heal. "Lisa, you've shattered everything," I murmured, my voice trembling with emotion. "I saw you both together in our home, on our couch. How can you expect me to forgive that?" Lisa clutched my hands tightly, her eyes filled with desperation and regret. "I made a terrible mistake, but we can work through this, Oliver. We can rebuild what we've lost. I'll do whatever it takes to make things right." I pulled my hands away from hers, feeling a mix of sadness and anger welling up inside me. "You should have thought about that sooner," I replied firmly, my voice filled with a newfound resolve. "I can't stay. I can't trust you again. The trust we had is broken beyond repair." With those final words, I zipped up my suitcase and walked toward the door. Lisa collapsed to the floor, a scream of agony escaping her lips. "Oliver, please don't leave me," she cried out, her voice filled with raw pain and desperation. I paused for a moment, glancing back at her. Seeing Lisa so broken and desperate tore at my heart, but I knew I had to be strong. I had to move forward for my own sanity and well-being. "I'm so sorry, Lisa," I said, my voice breaking with the weight of my sorrow, "but it's over." And that was my story. I discovered my ex-wife had been unfaithful to me with a man she met at the gym. The betrayal was like a knife to my heart, and I couldn't find it in myself to forgive her. What would you have done if you were in my shoes? Would you have confronted them in front of everyone as I did? If you found out about your spouse's infidelity, could you forgive them? I couldn't. The trust we had was broken, and no amount of apologies or promises could fix that. As I walked out of our home, memories of happier times flooded my mind. The laughter we shared, the dreams we built together, and the love we once had all seemed like distant, unreachable dreams. The life we had was now a painful reminder of what we had lost. Lisa's betrayal wasn't just an act of infidelity, it was a betrayal of the bond we had forged over the years. It was a betrayal of the trust that was the foundation of our relationship. How could I ever look at her the same way again? How could I ever believe in her words or actions again? Leaving was the hardest decision I ever had to make, but I knew it was the right one. Staying would have meant living in constant doubt and suspicion, always wondering if she would betray me again. I deserved better than that. I deserved a life free from the shadow of her betrayal. In the days that followed, I tried to piece my life back together. The pain was overwhelming at times, but I found strength in the support of my friends and family. They helped me see that moving on was the best thing I could do for myself. They reminded me that I deserved to be happy and that I deserved to be with someone who truly valued and respected me. Reflecting on the entire ordeal, I realized that Lisa's actions had taught me a valuable lesson about trust and forgiveness. While it's important to be able to forgive, there are some betrayals that cut too deep to ever fully heal. Trust, once broken, is incredibly difficult to rebuild. And in some cases, it's impossible. So now, I move forward with my life, carrying the lessons I've learned with me. I strive to build a future where trust and respect are the cornerstones of my relationships. And I hope that, one day, I'll find someone who will cherish and honor the trust one place in them, just as I will cherish and honor theirs. That was my story, a tale of love lost and the painful journey of moving on. If you ever find yourself in a similar situation, I hope you find the strength to make the best decision for yourself. Remember, you deserve to be with someone who values you and your trust. Don't settle for anything less.
Don't forget to subscribe, like, and click on the little bell icon for notifications of new stories.